The Murder of Michael Van Eck, a chilling tale of obsession and violence. Welcome, South Africa, a town built on gold mines and quiet routines where life moved at an easy pace. It wasn't the kind of place where people locked their doors in fear. But in April 2011, that illusion of safety was shattered. A young man, full of life and promise, vanished into the night. What started as a simple missing persons case quickly spiraled into something far darker. By the time the truth surfaced, it left an entire community shaken, unable to comprehend the depths of human cruelty. This is the story of Michael Van Eck, a deadly invitation. On the night of April the 4th, 2011, Michael Van Eck received a message. It was from someone he knew, someone he trusted. Shanae Van Heerden was a former art student, a young woman with an interest in dark, unsettling themes. Michael had been seeing her, though their relationship had always been complicated. Despite that, when she invited him to meet her that night, he didn't hesitate. What Michael didn't know was that he wasn't walking into a date. He was walking into a trap. Shanae wasn't alone. Waiting in the shadows was her boyfriend, Martins van der Merwe. The two of them had been planning something for weeks, something unthinkable. Their fascination with control, violence, and the forbidden had slowly twisted into something real. And tonight, they were ready to act. Michael arrived at the meeting place, expecting nothing more than a conversation. But before he could even process what was happening, he was ambushed. A sinister obsession uncovered. When Michael failed to return home, his family knew something was wrong. He wasn't the type to disappear without a word. They reported him missing, and within hours, the search for him began. But no one could have imagined what investigators would uncover. Following leads, detectives arrived at a chilling scene. What they found was evidence of something deeply disturbing, something that suggested this crime was not random, but planned with careful, unsettling precision. Inside Shanae's home, authorities found drawings and writings filled with violent imagery. It was clear she had been fixated on themes of death and destruction for some time. But even more chilling were the conversations that surfaced between her and Martins. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment act. This was something they had fantasized about. Something they had built up in their minds until the line between reality and their darkest thoughts no longer existed. Shanae had lured Michael there, and once he arrived, the couple carried out their gruesome plan. They had done more than just take his life. They had dehumanized him, treating their actions like some kind of twisted experiment. A trial that shocked the nation. When Shanae and Martins were arrested, the people of Welcome could hardly believe it. The idea that two young people from their own community could be responsible for something so monstrous was difficult to comprehend. As the trial unfolded, the details were almost too much to bear. The prosecution painted a picture of a crime that was as premeditated as it was horrifying. Experts testified about the psychological state of both perpetrators, but one thing was clear. This was not just a tragic accident or a case of uncontrolled rage. This was a choice. Shanae and Martins had no remorse. They spoke about their crime with an eerie detachment, as if it was something that had simply happened rather than something they had orchestrated. In the end, the court ruled that Martin van der Merwe, despite his struggles with schizophrenia, was fully aware of his actions. He was sentenced to life in prison. Shanae, though not given a life sentence, was declared a dangerous criminal and sentenced to at least 20 years behind bars. For many, the verdict brought a sense of justice. But for Michael's family, no sentence would ever be enough. A town that will never forget Welcome was never the same after that. The story of Michael Van Eyck's murder became more than just a crime. It became a warning, a reminder that darkness can exist in the most unexpected places. Michael's family was left with an emptiness that could never be filled. His mother spoke about the deep pain of losing her son in such a senseless, brutal way. How could she ever make peace with what had happened? How could anyone? For those who knew Michael, the tragedy wasn't just that his life had been taken. It was the cruelty with which it had been done. The betrayal of trust. The horror of knowing that people he once considered friends had turned against him in the most unimaginable way. Even now, years later, the echoes of that night still linger. The case remains one of the most chilling in South Africa's history. A story of how obsession, control, and unchecked darkness can lead to the unthinkable. A final thought, as the renowned author Edgar Allan Poe once said, "Believe nothing you hear, and only one half that you see." Because sometimes the monsters don't hide in the dark. Sometimes they smile at you in the daylight. Until next time, stay safe.